Hello there. My name is Dax Pandhi and I'm the director of the Mahim Pandhi Wildlife Foundation. Today I'm going to talk to you about how we use drones in crocodile conservation and particularly awareness. Apart from our normal work in conservation, over these past 5 years, I've been using drones to capture cinematic footage of crocodiles to show them in kind of a different light. These videos have been particularly helpful in capturing the imagination of people on social media and in educational programs. And in fact, it helped us recruit over 200 volunteers for the first complete survey of this region. I'm going to show you a short clip that I've put together using the footage from our archives so you can see what can be achieved with consumer level drones. After that, I'm going to talk about how we use the drone and some of the advantages we found, especially working as a small team with limited resources. Welcome to the remote area of Kutch. Its arid landscape sits at the westernmost tip of India and is dominated by barren soil and rocks. With the Arabian Sea to the west and south and salt marshes called the Run to the north and east, Kutch is virtually an island. Most summers are quite severe, and the monsoon swings between fierce droughts and devastating storms. Life is harsh for all living beings here, and water is a hotly contested resource. Despite these challenges, nearly 1,000 mugger crocodiles thrive deep within this environment. We've been capturing such footage since 2018 while running our regular surveys. When we started our work, we had the same challenges that just about everyone working with crocs would have. Our tiny team was severely limited in how often we could do surveys or how much area we could cover. We didn't have enough funds to hire more people or get better four-wheel drives to reach remote sites. We found over 200 water bodies spread over nearly 1,000 square kilometers that had never been surveyed and required detailed investigation. But the logistics of such a survey were very difficult. Kutch has a large river network, but no perennial rivers. The rivers are active only for a month or so during the peak of monsoon. Even in years of excess rainfall, the water is pumped dry to fuel agriculture. Crocodiles live briefly in these waters and mostly just use them as highways to travel between other, more stable water bodies. They're forced to move time and time again as each water body is consumed, and tracking them becomes that much more difficult. Apart from large reservoirs, the only stable water bodies are the hundreds of small natural and artificial dams scattered across the land. These places provide them with some of the safest habitats as they tend to be far away from humans. Eventually, these are also pumped dry for agriculture purposes by early or midsummer. But crocodiles are often found right in the middle of villages too. People and crocs coexist in relative peace, and Kutch has one of the lowest conflict records in the country. In our 2021 survey, we found that nearly half of the crocodile populations here are within the immediate vicinity of human settlements. Sometimes they'll retreat to sewage ponds in harsher summers. Now trust me, if you have to repeatedly go and survey multiple sewage ponds, the drone is your best friend. The drone becomes a lifesaver. By adding a drone that could fly 3 or 4 kilometers away, we were able to drastically simplify how we worked. A systematically chosen central location would let us fly the drone to multiple sites and survey them efficiently. Most importantly, we could conveniently reach isolated areas that were difficult or sometimes just impossible to reach on foot. Within the first few weeks of deploying our first drone, we were able to find over 250 crocodiles that were previously undocumented. The ability to see from a high altitude really just changed everything. One of the great things about a top-down view is that it shifts the angle of incidence and bypasses reflections. When you're on the ground, reflections on the water surface make it really difficult to see. But from the air, you can peer down into the water and reduce reflected sunlight. In fact, in early mornings and late afternoons, you can remove it completely. Here you can see the drone flying at a low angle, and the late afternoon sunlight is right in our face and just obscuring the view, making it difficult to spot crocs. But as we lower the camera, the visibility increases even in murky water. With a bit of practice, you can bypass reflections completely and get beautiful views of submerged crocodiles. So with the drone, you can take this to the next level if you have certain clear conditions. So in this video, which is from a few years ago, the water was particularly clear. And so you can actually use that situation to look under the water. So we're going to use just simple color correction, which is available in any video editing software. And so with that, you can see we have a very, very good view below the water. And so as the drone gets closer, the crocodile escapes into the water, and you can see how it's navigating its environment. You can also see the other water birds react to it. And then as we go a bit further, you can see there's another crocodile right there. It's resting on the bottom. And so, yeah, this is such a great way to observe behavior underwater, and that is something we've been trying to do actively. Flying at a high altitude, especially during key basking times, we were able to find crocodiles quite easily. Even in dense vegetation, the drone would bypass obstacles and allow us to see crocodiles as long as there's no tree canopy. The drone would take pictures in a grid pattern, and we would then analyze the resulting photos. We also take spherical panoramas of the habitats at regular intervals to create a historic record. Using the drone, over the past 5 years, we have located nearly 500 crocodiles across 60 locations. From above, we can also track hidden crocs from the tracks they've left behind in the thick underwater vegetation. The density of such tracks has often been used to find the path to a nest or a den. Being able to see behind tall grass, we were now able to spot hidden crocs that we would have easily missed from the ground before. Lastly, we get to document tracks, even in hard to reach wet areas without disturbing anything. With a few simple calculations of your camera sensor and distance to the tracks, you can get a rough estimate of the size. For the most part, we found that careful, eased flying will not disturb the crocodiles. However, they do respond to certain drones more than others. When we used the Phantom series of drones, we would get closer without offending the crocs, while the Mavic series makes them alert faster and disturbs them more easily. As can be expected, higher pitch noise from the rotors will travel further. With both drones, we have seen the crocodiles actively notice and track the drone from more than 100 meters away. There is always a real possibility that a crocodile will lunge up and grab the drone, so you have to be very careful, especially around the larger crocs. But the bigger danger I've encountered were birds. Here's a video of a routine manual flight where I'm just looking around and scanning the environment. Suddenly, an osprey flies by. I didn't notice and then it swoops in. I was so lucky. I don't know whether it missed or was aiming for something else. Maybe it was just buzzing the drone to scare it. And back then I relied on a 6-inch mobile phone, so details were harder to notice and you didn't really get advance warning. Another time, I was just taking a slow cinematic shot of migratory birds within a croc habitat. Just some B-roll footage. At a high frame rate of 120 FPS, it looked beautiful. And then after a minute, the flying birds had left, so I went in for a closer shot. And then this happens. All the obstacle sensors were flashing and beeping. You'd think Klingons were attacking the Enterprise from the sound of it. At this point, flying experience is key. Since you don't know where other birds are in relation to the drone, you don't move. Avoid the instinct to pull up quickly, and flocks will usually just go around. Once the sensors are clear, you can ease yourself out. So far, we've had 0 incidents and take great pains when flying in the wild to make sure we don't hurt any animals. I highly recommend having a spotter with you at all times. Sometimes, I just love letting the drone hover high up and just keep shooting. You never know what you might capture. Once I had found this heronry in beautiful reflective black water. As the drone hovered, a croc showed up repeatedly right around the nests. It was probably looking for a quick snack from an unsuspecting bird or a fallen chick. Another time, I was able to capture a little scuffle between 2 crocs. Red is basking in Blue's usual spot. Blue, the boss croc, is coming for him. Red senses Blue and moves away from the spot. You can see him kind of go below the vegetation. And there he is, moving around a bit under the water. And then he kind of comes out on the other side. Blue is still headed for him. And he'll come out again, right there, with Blue still on him. Now Red's trying to escape. Suddenly he bolts. He goes underwater. Blue goes after him, but doesn't really pursue Red anymore. You can see him deep in the water right there. And then after a moment, he comes out on the far side for some air. One day we were looking for crocs at a dam up in the hills. It was pretty shallow water for the most part, and the lush grass was growing along the shore. I noticed some cattle grazing and leaving a beautiful train of disturbed mud. I went in for a closer look as that frame looked interesting, and then as I got closer though, I noticed a couple of small crocs in the shallows. Cattle are very easily spooked by the drone, so I kept the drone around 60 meters or so and let the video keep running. As a result, I got this clear view of how that small croc navigated between the buffaloes. It's such a great way to see how they're reacting in their natural habitat, and with the drone so far away, we're not really disturbing the conditions. We get to see all kinds of locomotion, especially when we get up close. Now, normally we go to great lengths to make sure we don't disturb the crocs, but part of our work is also finding out how they respond to the drone in different situations. Most of the time, if we fly well, they're calm and don't react to the drone. But once in a while, a sudden shift of the wind can make the drone move erratically, or the pilot can make a mistake and it'll spook the croc. In such moments, we get some very interesting footage. Here's a young mugger partially galloping as it gets spooked. Thanks to the high frame rate we shoot in, we can slow down the footage to see the movement. We were lucky enough to see an adult mugger bounding. As far as I know, this is the first time it has been captured on video. It was a very, very exciting moment for us. Here's the slowdown version so you can see the movement precisely. The new telephoto capability in drones has changed how we investigate sites and inspect crocodiles. In this screen recording of the drone controller, you can see nearly 170 mm zoom from more than 30 meters above. Now we can get a clear view of the animal without disturbing it. Combined with better image sensors, you get higher visibility even after the sun sets. In this example, I'm hovering nearly 50 meters above the water. A croc I'm very familiar with loves to hide under those trees, so I just stay there and zoom in, and voila. The image quality is decidedly lower than the prime lens, but for simple documentation or recon flights, this is a lifesaver. A negative angle with zoom enables us to get a good lateral view without disturbing the croc, as the drone can stay far away. In decent lighting conditions, the zoom can produce results of remarkable quality. You can actually see the ant on the crocodile's forelimb. Here the drone is a dozen or so meters away and we're almost at maximum zoom. This has enabled us to take many detailed shots of the crocodiles, their environment, and even superficially inspect their health from a safe enough distance. So that in a nutshell is how we have been using the drone in our work. With our primary background in technology, our plans are to extend the use of the drone with new algorithms for remote detection, size class identification, and more. These resources will be open sourced and made available to everyone so you can take full advantage of these automations in the field. If you have any questions or if we can assist you in any way, please feel free to reach out anytime. You can find more of our work and videos on Instagram, YouTube, and our website. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend this talk, and looking forward to seeing how you use the drone in the field. Thank you.